we're going to hear a special address from our Air Chief Marshal, Mr. Sohail Aman, the Chief of Air Staff of Pakistan's Air Force. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, please give His Excellency the biggest round of applause.
All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm absolutely thrilled and happy, excited to be on such a great forum where you have a good international community, businessmen, corporate sector entirely out here, public sector, private, everybody together. The only feeling that I have is I'm a kind of misfit into this organization. A man who's served in uniform for such a long time, how could he make sense to you? So my personal apology here, I've been brought here, so I'll try and make some sense out of it. So my appreciation to the organizers. They've done a fabulously good job putting such a great gathering out here. It actually started with the word disruption. And what I knew of my limited English was all negative connotation of disruption. So I picked up the Oxford and the Cambridge dictionaries, and I got one good meaning out of it. And this was doing things in an unconventional way, non-traditional way. And I think that's the catch that I lash on to fantastically well. What I'll do is that I'll talk a few things about the leadership that I experienced during my career. And then you can take your own inferences out of it and in your own organization. Because in my mind, the basic principles of handling any organization continue to remain the same. And then you can apply them in your own way. And these principles are not new. The only way is that how are these applied, and you can make any inference out of it. My father was my mentor. And when I became an air commodore and I was permitted to command a base, he said a sentence to me, and I didn't quite understand. He said, God has made you big, become big. And I said, what's so big about it? Yes, I need to become big. But I think that's where the catch was. He was a great thinker and a government official. He did explain it to me in the years to come. As a leader, you always need to get out of the trivialities. And you really need to see what is trash and where do you need to focus. If you are a strategic thinker in any particular organization, you take your organization forward. And what is the vision? And the things which look very difficult and very challenging, actually they're not. You really have to pick up the good theme for your organization. You've worked there for such a long time, and you need to take it forward. So it's all about leaving what's unnecessary, and it is all about thinking big. I think that takes you forward. And then becoming big is, in any particular organization, how do you become big in terms of looking after your subordinates, the destitutes, and now not only your organizations, but how far can you increase your spectrum? We in the Air Force look at our people, all right. But then during the first 3 months, I realized there is a national responsibility on the Air Force, and that's about imparting education and bringing jobs to people, and of course, spreading a lot of good. And we did work on it, and I'll talk about it in the latter part. So become big. And do something which is important for the society and the community, and not only your organization. I think Steve Jobs, I'm a very fond admirer of him, and he said that you must have a burning desire of making a dent in the universe before you leave. But then a lot of us think that how can I make that dent? And I handle such a small, no, you do, but you can. And it comes very quick, and it comes easy. It's not too big about it, and I'll talk about those issues. You really have to go beyond the call of duty. It's a 24/7. If you become leader of an organization, it's a responsibility, it's a commitment, and it is a 24/7. And what it brings out is you need to have exceptional stamina as a leader. And when you talk of stamina, of course, it's a physical stamina, because you need to be physically well, healthy, to make sure that you deliver and your mind continues to work. But then it is, what I've learned about the stamina is that you need to make the right decision in the stressful environment. You will get stresses, you'll get challenges, but that be it. How much do you keep your mind under control, your wits about, and make the right decisions? All right. Few very basic principles that any leader would have, and then we'll go on what we did in the Air Force, and you can analyze for yourself. I think you're so visible in an organization. You just can't be invisible when you're into lead positions. And whether the organization is small, you're heading a small unit, you're very visible. And every act of yours is noticed by every individual of your organization. You can't pose. You should not pose. Be there you are, the way you are. You'll make mistakes, that be it. But your people should know that you're a man with integrity and honesty. And integrity, there are a lot of definitions. I don't understand a lot of them, but I think integrity is all about doing the right when nobody is looking at you. And just keep doing right, and you just keep moving. That's something important. Leadership is all about giving credit to others. If ever the word I start to come in your speech, you need to check. It's not you. It is those people who make that happen for you. I think I'm reminded of 1974, NASA. That's the year that I joined Air Force. And it's an excellent example which kept out there in my mind. The NASA went to push a craft to the space, and it failed. It fell in the ocean, and the head of NASA went out to the media and he said, I'm at fault, and we'll fix it. And the nation's expectation was very high. He said, fix it. 2 years down the line, they come back again, they do this, it's a success. And you know what he does? He puts the project in charge to the media, and he says, he's the man who did it, and he walks out of that place. Look, what an example of really encouragement. They're the people who really make it happen for you. It is their encouragement which makes it happen. This is what you need to understand. In an organization, you need to develop the purpose of being there. It gets very simple for us, honestly speaking. We in the military we talk about nationhood. And in fact, we all belong to our nations. We really want to serve our nations well. We want our nations to progress. And that's actually some very important catalyst. If your organization knows the reason for being, and every individual understands what is he exactly doing and what is the objective and the purpose, and his party to the decision making, they'll always be with you. They'll always come up with ideas. They'll always come up with, so what it leads to is, it's a free communication that you talk about various ideas. We in the military sometimes get challenges out there, but then it's perfectly all right. Don't ever let one of your decisions be known as your decision. While you might have already decided, get people out there, talk out the problem. You might have already sorted out what is to be done, but at the end of the day, give that ownership to them that they made that decision within that whatever body that you have. So it's important that your organization understands, every member understands the purpose, and every member is part of the decision making, and that is how you need to make it happen. Very quick point about caring for your subordinates. We have a variety of people, various degrees, starting from low-paid employees, which every organization has. And I'm also reminded of Coca-Cola lost their head, I think, say, mid-80s, and they wanted the next CEO in. And this guy was sure to be because he's the most experienced. And the board sat down and they said, do you know the man's name who brings you up and down every day in the lift? And he said, what does it have to do with my business? I said, we need to know how many children he has. What is his financial status? Look at the mindset of the people. If you do not get, and of course he didn't know that, and he was not appointed as CEO of the Coca-Cola for the reason that he didn't understand his people. It's so important. And believe you me, I've been just 3 years into my Air Force command, and I've learned so much on this. Don't think that few of the people in the organization are important, favorites. No, no, no. When you get there, everybody is it's like your child. You need to give that attention, you need to give that encouragement out to the person, and then that be it. One more general topic, and then we'll talk about the specific in the Air Force. It's all about education. It's all about learning graphs. It's all about making your organization enabled to do things which are your ultimate vision and objective. You really need to take an organization to a place that you really thought it should be. For example, for me, the Air Force had to be at a place where it can thwart any threat to Pakistan. And any threat meant any threat. Tall order, but then I'll tell you how did we go about it. But this cannot be done without education, and education has only two purposes. I know you're all very well read, but I think those two are very important. It should get you technology, transform into the goods, ultimately earn money. But next point is more important, to bring prosperity to the country, to the organization, and that's important. So when even you use technology, ultimately it should bring good to the people. And the second purpose of education is to make you a good human being and a good citizen. If the second is not done, there's no use of the first one. That is how the organization, in my point of view, it is. All right, Air Force. It's not, honestly, we two people, the community that you have about the business and we are very different. You always have your charts about the money, how much did you earn, and those are your indices, and we have indices, how much have you spent, and how effectively have you spent that money. So I think this pretty diverge on the two sides, but very quickly I realized money is important. I need to manage money properly, because if the objective is to make your Air Force absolutely formidable, and it has to, so I mean, translate it into your organizations, you have the similar visions. You need to get the technology, and you need to get so many things to be done up. Money is important. So I think one must, or the leader must learn how to utilize all this, how to disrupt, how to think unconventional, and how to think out of box to get it happen. Honestly, it's not difficult. It's not difficult, I'll tell you. All right, the international environment that I have, that we have in Pakistan, about 3 years before, I think, I would say about 5 years before, was very depressing. I mean, we used to have 2 to 3 terrorist attacks every day. People killed on the road, and there was so much of, we fought our own war. We're not fighting a war for anybody else. But then we decided as a nation, we need to go out and get this menace removed from for our children and next generation. And Air Force was given the lead role. And before I became the Air Chief, I was the operations in charge, and this responsibility came on my shoulders. And I'm very thankful to God Almighty who put that responsibility on me, and my organization happened to do it. We pinpointed every terrorist around our western area, eliminated them, and the country stays at peace. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things which has happened. I'm honestly not euphoric, but name one country in the world. Name one country in the world which has handled the terrorists, this magnitude of terrorists, and got them off their back. We're determined to make the fence between the two borders, and what we're saying is that we should continue to manage within our own countries. And I think coalition forces need to do a lot more in that area in Afghanistan to make it stable. My force was fully committed, and we decided to go behind them. And the only thing which I did in that was that I put myself with them. And that's an important thing. The field for all of us, whether it is industry or anything, if your hands do not smell fuel, if you don't wear that dress, you're detached from the people who bring productivity to you. So I was in the cockpit most of the time, flying with the boys, going out to the border areas. Yes, a lot of people told me that you'll become vulnerable, but that be it. My nation is more important than myself. So I think being with your people is something, again, very pivotal, again, very important. Although most of the time when I was going out for bombing, my boys did look at the bombs, and they were always kind of saying, let's see how many bombs does he really put into the target. And we would really joke about it. But then that brought such a huge commentary. The story begins of staying independent, indigenization, development, education with one event, and I would like to share that event with you. We live in peace, and we want the country and our next generations all over the world to be in peace. But we totally understand the way the international politics and the dynamics work. There is a shift and a tilt towards the east because of emerging Russia and China. And I really wish that this eventually becomes a reason for the peace in the world rather than a trouble. But we'll have to navigate, and I think the times will remember how did the world react when it was unipolar. And I'm not here really to comment on these things, but this is what I'm telling you is a strategic environment that I received. And I said, we need to be independent. We do not have to be dependent on even the best of our friends. I need to stand on our own feet. And what we had was development of a basic simple jet, a JF-17. And the aeroplane had limited capabilities. We had old radars, we imported weapons, we didn't have data links, and we still went in for this counterterrorism campaign. The first thing was build up the education, but all right, the story. We had a terrorist attack on one of our bases, and one of our surveillance radar was totally destroyed, but this happened about 7 years ago, and 2 were very badly damaged. If I was to really thank those terrorists, of course they were killed during their combat very quickly, but they damaged 2 of our very major assets, something like $1.2 billion were gone. And the company which repairs the aeroplanes or they build the aeroplane, they refused to do it, and I became the operations chief. And we sat down, and I looked at these aeroplanes, and I said, I think we can do it. You have to have that faith based on your imagination and your scientific knowledge. We got those people here, $287 million. We will not give you the certification for this aircraft. You can't drive a car without certification. What to talk of an aeroplane? And I said, 4 engineers, PhDs, sit together. What is this certification agency all about? And what is so big? Because I knew it is an essential thing. 6 years down the line, we are the 5th certification agency in the world today. We sat down all the PhDs and we did all the analysis and we said, and I think Sab is an excellent friend, the Swedish, and we sat down, $287 million, and I said, go, and we'll repair the aeroplanes ourselves. Believe me, I did not know how will it happen. And that is where you come up with a determination to your people and say, anywhere in your organization, when there are unrealistic goals, that is what is disruption. We couldn't have thought of doing this, but I didn't honestly know myself, what are we really heading for? And I remember him going, and I collecting the people, I said, open up the aeroplane, what's so big about it? And we began. SAP came back 1 month down the line, $161 million. Figures absolutely clear in my mind. I said, we're not talking about it. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, both the aeroplanes today are flying $25.5 million. Honestly, it's not money. It's honestly not money at all. Because when I was there under the aeroplanes with the boys, and they're recovering, and we're doing, so it's not about, emotions are a very important part in life. You really need to pick up that spirit in your organization and you make them move forward. But then it has to be based with the scientific knowledge. I couldn't have risked the aeroplanes and the lives at all. So the people were repairing aeroplanes. Most of the time I was there with them, patting on the back, making sure that they get the spares, they get whatever the bad parts were there. And ultimately, SAP came back to me and they said, you've done it. Till that time, we didn't have the certification agency. And they said, you don't have a certification agency, how you fly these aeroplanes? I said, it's none of your business, because these are our aeroplanes, we bought them, and I'm flying the first sortie myself. If the aeroplane goes down, let it be my bad judgment. And I flew the first sortie with this aeroplane. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not me at all. I'm very sure it's not me. It was divine. Our country had to follow on that path. So while we were fighting the terrorists, this was going on in parallel. We quickly went on, and I said, what is so big about these huge technical precision weapons? Because, you know, when you're attacking the terrorist, it's possibly in a street, it is the third house in the basement where the terrorists are. You can't do an indiscriminate, and you have seen this. I'm again very thankful to God Almighty, and of course, the precision of our boys who have been doing a wonderful job in the field. We haven't had a single collateral. We haven't had a single collateral. And we're very thankful to United States at that time to give us that provision on the aeroplanes and the weapon system. But then said, why can't we do it ourselves? Foolish. Remember the fools who think who can change the world? The fools who can think who can change the world, they are the ones who actually change the world. And this is so big written in our operations branch. Get in there. And we said, all right, get the PhDs again, back the education. And we researched. Look, I'm myself amazed. 1.5 years down the line, and they said we can make precision weapons, and there's no issue with that. The only thing the boys need is appreciation, or your people appreciation, provisions of whatever. I mean, this is not done without giving them the best of the computers, giving best of the environment and everything. 1.5 years down the line, ladies and gentlemen, every weapon that we used to import is done by the boys. Finished. Excellent. My lesson is, you will all have challenges in life. You will all have challenges in your organization. The art of leadership is, how do you convert that challenge into opportunity? You get bogged down, and that is what you remember my father, think big. And honestly, I did not get into the trivialities of lot of technical details. You just have 24 hours. You need to think big. You need to make environment right. You need to appreciate. You need to get some money out there. And then all these weapons which are made, they bring you money. Now you export them. The JF-17 today with these weapons is, alhamdulillah, 4 domains much better than the F-16. It's got standoff, it's got anti-ship, it's got the precision weapon, it's got the old data link, and that's it. Honestly, my thought is that if you can derive anything out of this, that if you have the vision right, you have the knowledge base, you can do honestly anything. And this continued. And there were issues with our air-to-air refuelers because nobody would service them. They were due for overhaul, all 4 going down. The pods, they wanted $1 million for each pod. We had 13 of them. I didn't have money. Open them up. What's so big about it? Now we had the certification agency. And they certified every pod. Today, all the air-to-air refuelers, all the pods. Scotland Uzair is the name of the boy. I remember these boys by heart because you need to know these people, those who work this out for you. On the 14th of August, our National Day, I put all these people on the national media, and I said, they're the boys who have done it. And I think, till date, what they said was very, very important. When your subordinates work and do things for you, you need to not only appreciate them, you need to put them there, and it's not appreciation. And next day morning, they were there when I came to the office, and they said, the last night we thought that you put so much of responsibility on our shoulders. If you really made us the national heroes that we can do all this, we can't possibly sleep. And I think Air Commodore Rizwan, I remember, he said, sir, I couldn't sleep the entire night. You put so much of responsibility. This is what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, the last point, when all this was happening, we decided to have a university very close to our factory. I'm not a businessman, but I understood, and I think that's where a lot of our businessmen need to pay attention. We've already kick-started this, so I wanted the industry and the academia to be together. That was the thought. The presentation ended by saying that it's non-viable. You'll not have students. It's an old town, which is 1 hour drive from here. And the last recommendation was, don't make it. And I still remember very clearly because Vice Chancellor was sitting there that day. I said, you're right, but why don't we make a town out of it? And everybody laughed. I'm okay. When people laugh, enjoy it. Because you talked about disruption. Actually, everything was already there. We had industry, we put the university, put the design center, and put the certification agency together. I've had an experience of being friendly to a lot of air forces, and the chiefs of all the air forces are good buddies and friends. I've seen this, but not even in a single air force. I mean, I have a lot of respect for all of them. Not even a single air force, you have all these 4 clubs together under one roof. It's foolish to think like that, but it's only the foolish who end up doing it. And I said, let's make a town. And the next question, the Vice Chancellor asked me, where's the money going to come from? And again, please understand, the money does not restrict your thought process. If it does, there is a problem. And I said, money will come. Let it be there. And we went in. I'm amazed. 1.5 years down the line, you have the aviation city established, and there are people who want to come in, and there are nations who want to come in and join up into the aviation city. I said, what good is the aviation city if it does not produce the right thing? And the right thing was make the next generation aircraft. And the next generation fighter aircraft, we already started. The project name is ASM. And within 1 year, the aircraft design is ready. I wish that you could go and see the facility. I think our industries should go, because it's not an organization's job. The whole country will have to get together. It has started to happen. If you can repair the aeroplanes which the OEM cannot repair, if you can make all the advanced weapons, if you can develop aviation city in that kind of time, there's no limit to your thinking. You can think anything. You can disrupt. You can put the disorder there, and it will all happen. My last point here is, sorry, I know I need to be out on an activity, but I'll just very quickly, I said the second purpose of education is make good human beings, look after your people. And on that account also, we quickly got in touch with a lot of provincial, federal government, got a lot of, about 6 pieces of land. And for the destitutes of the society, the disabled, for the orphans of the earthquake, flood, IDPs, we have already completed a town in Rashidabad, Sindh, some boondocks, 2 public schools, 200-bed hospital, blood transfusion, leukemia, blind center, widow center. It's a town. 6,500 people living, everybody working. 5 such towns. And again, when we did all this, they're all in the making now. So 2 in KP, 1 in southern Punjab, 2 in southern Punjab, and 1 in Gawadar. And the question was, where would the money come from? And my answer was, don't think about money. It'll come. The second and third project are already started, and the money will come. It's about the people. It's about your organization. It's about your vision. How relaxed are you? That's important. People do not wish to follow a tense man. So while there is so much going on within you, look after your people. Keep your focus. Don't let your focus move away from there. There'll be challenges, there'll be difficulties, there'll be disappointments. All here. Nothing comes out of it. Not a person in your organization knows what's going on inside you. You take it. That's what is leadership all about. You make them move forward. Give them good news. If there are challenges, share with them, but give them solutions. That is where you come. Leadership is all, okay, a professor at Harvard, I think she said that. Leadership is like a tea bag. The leadership is like a tea bag. The real quality of it comes out when you put it in the hot waters. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, we're going to have a question and answer session right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the opportunity to ask His Excellency for any questions that you would like to ask him. For that, we'd like to invite you, for those of you who would like to ask your questions to His Excellency, to please raise your hand. Yes, sir. I am coming to you.
Thank you so much for enlightening speech. And what is your message for a 60% Pakistani youth? Because that's where we actually grow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we, the elder people, are responsible. We, the elder people, are responsible for not giving the right opportunities. The project Azm that I talked about is the next generation aircraft. They brought the first design in 1 year. The F-16 design in 1970s was completed in 8 years. After 1 year when they came, the majority of the people who sit there and do these design activities are between 24 to 32. That's the youth. You really need to tap them and you really need to encourage them because they understand the technology, IT, and so many things better. Your job as the leader is to make sure you pick the right people, encourage them, get them into your organization, give them facilities and do that. Pakistan, with such a large youth bulge and youth population, is bound to take off. I'm very sure that when the security and stability has improved to the level that we have, and next 1 year this fence gets completed and the CPAC comes in place, we're on the right path. We only need to do is use every individual of our country. And I've given you an example. I think with a lot of organizations that I talked about, the small towns that we're making, there again you possibly like to get the best boys and girls and move them out and stream them out to the right places. I think that's what we need to do. And last point that I have on this is our industry needs to be much more active in determining the curriculums of our universities. You really need to know what is being taught so that when they come out, they're useful citizens. That's what we are doing at the Air University. I mean, the curriculums are totally tailor-made to look at the avionics, the Azm aircraft in 10 to 12 years down the line, which we have. So I'm very hopeful and I'm very sure about the future of Pakistan and the youth. Okay?
Thank you so much. And maybe there's one more question that we would like to, yes.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum ji.
Walaikum assalam.
Inspirational talk. Thank you so much. You've talked about fighting terrorism and other initiatives like this 5th generation aircraft. My concern is there's a certain mindset at work when it comes to terrorism. Is there anything we're doing about challenging that mindset or maybe rehabilitating it?
You're actually talking of extremism.
Yes.
All right. I think extremism is more dangerous than terrorism. You have to work as a nation. And I think, again, the basic, a lot has changed. And I think, let me put on record those 134 young children who lost their lives in APS school. They changed our direction. And even initial days, we used to have challenges when we were going behind these people. There are a lot of countrymen who thought that they're Muslims, and they're what? They're not Muslims. They're not Muslims. What to talk of Muslims? They're not human beings. Those who do not distinguish between the right and wrong, and the fact is, if you ask me very openly, they're implanted. I've seen them myself for a very long time. They're the best trained soldiers that you can think of. They're the best trained people, and of course, when we start to play politics with this whole thing, it becomes even more challenging. Honestly, the religions all, especially, Islam means the peace. So there is no space of terrorism in any religion. These people are not human. So the mind which works behind them have long linkages. The government has a strategy. We have done in the Air Force through an education program. We really need to go more and more, talk to the people, educate them. But I think by and large in our society, people, especially the educated people, need to understand one. The second is that while you're so kind to your people on corruption, on disloyalty to the nation, and on these accounts, one should be more than ruthless. And that's about it. So while you educate people, be ruthless to anybody that you catch, and you must catch the right people. Okay? We can have one more question if you want, I think.
Okay, I guess, Miss?
Hello. Yes. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sidra Iqbal. I was listening to your very inspiring speech. I think we really like the fact when you spoke about people laughing at their dreams. There's a big quote that says that if people are not laughing at your dreams, you're not dreaming big enough. So thank you very much for having that vision. My question to you would be very simple. I'd like to know, in your wise opinion, what do you think are the 3 greatest challenges faced by Pakistan in the year 2018? Thank you.
I think the biggest challenge that we have is education. We're doing a lot. We need to do so much more on the education. I've put education ahead of the economics or the finances. The second is the economic state of the country. Please remember, 3 years down the line, we didn't have this priority. 3 years down the line, we're talking of security. So now, alhamdulillah, when the security environment has improved to a level that you can focus on these areas, I think it's education. It's about bringing the finances and economy. And the last point I have is organizational structures. And organizational structures, what I mean is, because I've seen now quite a bit of public and the private sector sitting in the government for a very long time, we're not good at making organizational structure, at making institutions. And again, I remember possibly in one of these institutes, there was a professor who lectured us on bringing institutions. And in an hour's lecture, for 45 minutes, he talked of how the human mind evolved right from the ancient days. And the last lesson, I think that's something that we all need to learn here is, and he said, make loosely fit organizations. And again, I didn't quite understand this, but then I understood it with the passage of make loosely fit organizations where people have freedom to work, express their ideas, but then they are in a controlled environment. So I think education, economy, and building right institutions, these are 3 challenges that I can think of, okay?
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Please give him a big round of applause.
I think we were, Ji ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Amir Raz. I'm from S&P Global. My question to you would be that, talking about the project ASM, so I believe that most of your projects as being in Airforce, I mean, they could be, I mean, a secret sort of projects, but what is the collaboration that you people are doing in order to involve the public into that?
Okay,
so.
a lot. Let me give you a very honest answer. The public, the private sector is scared because of mil specs and so many things. And I understand they're being not proactive. There are huge number of industries that have had them into aviation city camera. They've come, they've familiarized. To start with, there are, on the JF-17, they've begun to make the JF-17 components. Even when the China is one of our very good friends, why not make our own components? And I'm of the view that even if you pay your people a little more, there's no problem with that because developing capacity. So it has started, it's not good. We need to get more comfortable with it because you remember I said I want to thank those terrorists. When we made that certification agency, that barrier is gone from our mind. So you produce a thing, you come back. So there is an opening. And now we have had special technical zones which are interacting with the private. So I mean, we're working on it. Anybody can plug in. I'm sorry, there's a ma'am here, the elderly lady. Please go ahead. And that's the last question. Please, ma'am. Okay. I'm sorry for this, but I think, okay.
Sir, good afternoon. My name is Arifa Muzaffar. I am very much convinced Pakistan is one of the finest country, no doubt about it. There are problems all over the world, anywhere. There are more deaths in America, more murders in America. Guns is a problem in America. And I know our government is doing very good. Our people are very educated. There are problems, there are challenges. My concern is, yes, you are doing a lot. Our government is doing a lot. Our army is doing a lot. But our propaganda and our way to present our case is not very strong. So what are you doing?
Perfect.
why you don't have something like CNN, any of the institution which can raise your point of view. Yesterday there was a firing, and I think United Nations, 2 people were also witness at the line of control. But we are not presenting our case in a strong manner. That's my question to you.
You want me to be very honest? You want me to be very honest, all right? Even if it is on the record, I'll be very honest and I'll tell you. Honestly, I've seen this for a very long time. You are very poor at storytelling. This is the message that I got even when I was visiting Hill for a couple of times. Because when we tell them what we have done, people understand it very much. What is it? So one, that we are not very good at storytelling. We don't give a narrative well, which we need to do. So going out to a lot of strategic universities out there. I mean, within this 3 years, I've rotated all my 2 stars and 3 stars through the Howard Kennedy School on the leadership courses, because you represent and you tell one part of the story, but then that's not the end of it. We do it poorly, I totally understand. But then there are huge lobbies in the media. There is large sum of money which is invested in the media, and your stories, possibly even if you want to give, you're not allowed to give your stories. And I'll be very honest with you. In your national media, you can talk as much about it, but what matters the most is what is your narrative in the international media. That needs to be done. And I think, I'm not saying we give up. We need to put the right story. I mean, tell me on the goddamn earth, why is there the world's largest military population in military strength in Kashmir? Why is the LOC totally replete with fire every day and the civilians and children are killed? It's there in the national media, but who projects? I was in the United Nations myself, and the Kashmir was not on their list for the countries, the places which are subjugated. And I rose up and I said, what it is? We have certain criteria. We do this, this, this. We need to do a better job. We need to fight those, or we need to negotiate with those challenges out there. And you're absolutely right. Tell me, with the kind of war that this country has fought, 6,500 soldiers is not a less number. We never lost that number in the wars. 14,000 soldiers imputed because the IDs. Were these nomads that we were fighting with? The best trained people. And 45,000 civilians lost. 134 children, especially of the military, lost in the most brutal manner. Their teachers killed. What else narrative the world does want from us? And we finished all this. At the end of the day, there's a statement that we haven't done enough. No, we have done more than enough. I know it for sure that we have done more than enough. I'm sorry that you put that question, and I had to be totally straight with the whole handling this question. Our narrative is strong. We've done the right thing. We have preserved our people. We have made our people safe. And we have done it very honestly. And we have done it without any discrimination. I wish that we give a better narrative than this, what we are doing. But I'm... Okay.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. To accompany the gentleman on stage, I would like to invite Mr. Khalid Mansour, the CEO of HUBCO, to please come up on stage to hand out the token of appreciation to His Excellency.
And please, a standing ovation for Air Chief Marshal Sohail Aman sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Khalid Mansour, the CEO of HUBCO, is handing out a token of appreciation to His Excellency Air Chief Marshal Sohail Aman, the Chief of Air Staff of Pakistan's Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency just recently received the United States Legion of Merit, an extremely prestigious award, a military award from the United States of the U.S. Armed Forces, thanks to his commitment and to his dedication to Pakistan. Yes, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we thank His Excellency so much for his presence and his participation, as well as his excellent presentation.